Hi, my name's John, and this is a story time. I have been wanting to make this video for so long, so long. I'm actually recording this on my phone, even though I have, tried to set up all of the appropriate equipment with microphones and stuff. I just can't get it to work, and I just need to get this out of my system. So where am I going to begin? So my name's John Foster. If you already know me, you might know me as JB. I was born John Michael Milburn. Foster comes from my adoption. So this story time is not pleasant. It involves quite a lot of information, so I'm going to try to be as quick as I can whilst giving as much information as I can about each specific part of what I'm trying to say. So the most important thing that I want to state is that every single thing I'm going to tell you in this video is the truth that I remember. And I'm making this video because I believe that there are thousands of other children who grow up in care who are clinically or criminally abused, neglected, experimented with, just not treated the way that any human being should be treated. So let me get to the start of it. So I was born in Middlesbrough, 1985. My mum and dad split up or weren't really together. And I ended up going into care as a baby, which wasn't great, but I went into care as a baby. So by the time I was like 5 or 6 years old, it was all I'd ever known. It was absolutely fine. So I was 5 years, I was about 4 when I got adopted. I got adopted in Stokesley in North Yorkshire. The placement adoption started off really well, I think. But then they had birth children that they conceived naturally of their own. And I became a little bit of a burden, I believe. And physical abuse started to take place. My adopted dad used to beat the hell out of me with a belt. And at the same time, there was a next door neighbour who was sexually abusing me. Now, I've got to say this, I don't know why I've got to say this, but it wasn't penetrative sex, it was just inappropriate touching, stripping me naked. Very bizarre, but, it wasn't aggressive and violent and a painful experience. It was just very weird. I left that placement. I was moved. I think I was like 6 years old. And then I got placed back into mainstream foster care. So I was placed in a placement with some foster parents. They lived on a farm. It is one of my happiest childhood memories, we living with them. I don't want to try to say any names at the moment. I hope people understand that. So they lived just outside a little village called Coxwold in North Yorkshire. And again, like I said, they lived on a farm. We went on holiday to France. I had an older foster sister. I went to school. Just growing up like a normal little boy. I really don't remember any issues at that placement whatsoever. But that placement again came to an end, and I moved on to another placement in Welbury. And again, this placement didn't work. I went to Australia with them. I now believe in hindsight that they were looking to adopt me, but they wanted to emigrate, and it just didn't work out. So, and again, I was still going to full-time school and everything. So at this point, I am 10 years old. It's 1995. And then I'm taken to my very, very first residential care unit. I'd never ever lived in a care unit before, so it was, harrowing for the best of reasons. It was just a very unfamiliar, strange, scary setup. Now, this placement was a therapy-based unit, and in this unit, they practiced a type of therapy called holding therapy. Now, this is the critical kind of part of where the rest of the story unfolds, because it all really starts here for me. So holding therapy is, well, I'm just going to explain from my perspective what happens. So I would have to go into a room with the lead therapist, who was a lady, and one of my carers that were from the children's home that we lived in. I would have to go and they would be sat on a couch. I would have to lie on top of them. I would have to place one of my arms behind the lead therapist's back, and my feet would be on the residential workers' top of their thighs, we're sitting on a sofa. They're sitting on a sofa and I'm lying on them. My one arm would be behind the lead therapist's back, and my other hand would be on my stomach, like here, with her hand on top, and I wasn't allowed to move from that position, and I would always have to keep direct eye contact with the lead therapist. If I didn't keep direct eye contact with the lead therapist, she would tap me in the side of the head and tell me to focus. She would tickle me to try to get a reaction. Now, the start of every therapy session would be, how do you feel today? Do you feel sad, mad, glad, or scared? Again, they're very strange emotions that you'd be asking a child if they felt. Again, in hindsight, I now understand that I was a traumatized child. Obviously, after being abused and being moved around so much. So this was an attachment. So I was told that I had attachment problems and an actual attachment disorder. Now, this will make sense a bit more further along, but this diagnosis was made when I first left my adoption placement. So I was 7 years old. I'm now at this unit being treated for an attachment disorder, and I'm 11. So this is 4 years later, after 2 foster placements where the only reason I saw that they ended was because I was moved. Really nothing down to me. Obviously, I did have some troubled behaviour with the foster parents that took me to Australia. But again, you took a disturbed child to the other side of the world. So, that came with its problems. And I now want to just kind of skip forward a little bit. So I stayed at this unit for 3 years. This is the only placement now where I also have to go to a brand new full-time secondary school called Fians, and that was in Bacup in Lancashire. So, I was having to live in this unit. I was very bullied, really, at this school. I always say that I was never bullied because I don't want to admit it, but I was. And I was, I was a very odd child. I was being psychologically tortured under the umbrella of a holding therapy. So once the placement broke down, I never entered full-time education again, and my education really did not get a look in after that point. The reason I'm making this video today is that In 2012, I was online and I saw a hidden a hidden documentary series, and it was about holding therapy. And I watched, and I was horrified. I was like, "Wow, that's what happened to me," and it was just very, very strange. It was surreal. Obviously, you try to block out the negative things that happen, but I have mental health problems. I've suffered with addiction. I'm very proud of myself to say that I am now like 9 months clean and sober, but that's been a battle, and something I'm going to battle with because I now am learning to live with a diagnosis of a borderline personality disorder. I actually only found this out 7 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, maybe, when I was going through paperwork from the legal ombudsman because I was making a complaint about the solicitors. So I saw the hidden documentaries program, and then I did some research and I found out that there was a solicitor that was dealing with the young man in the TV program. So I got in touch with the solicitors in question and I spoke to a lady there, and she was already very familiar with who I was. At one point, she did say, "We have been expecting you to get in touch," which is a bit strange. I'm not really sure why that would be. So as we start the court process, I have to really re-go over things, and I wasn't really that clear about things, and maybe I remember the violent restraints. I remember having to go to the therapy against my will, but a lot of my time there, I really don't remember because it was hell. The restraints took place sometimes like 5, 6 times a day. Sometimes restraints could last for 2, 3 hours. And it basically just a fight between an 11-year-old child and 2 to 3 adults. I wasn't allowed out, really. I went to school, which was hell, and came home. Obviously, people don't come round. I didn't really get invited anywhere. So I was completely isolated away from like the rest of the world for my most of my childhood. So 2012, I've got in touch with the solicitors, and then 2013 goes by, 2014 goes by. In 2014, I get sent to see a professional psychiatrist doctor, and this is where he's the doctor who makes the diagnosis of a borderline personality disorder. Sorry. So in 2016, sorry to keep going so far, but this has happened. This is why I've been so wanting to make the video. This has been 7 years of my life. So 2016 comes round. I'm having a really, really, really hard time. Depressed, suicidal, taking lots of alcohol, lots of drugs, anything to numb down what's really going on and how helpless I felt in the entire situation. I got a phone call from my solicitors, and they asked me and my ex-partner, friend, support network to go into their central London offices to discuss and have a meeting. And basically in this meeting, I was told that the defendants, but basically the people that were legally responsible for me, because I was on a care order and it was a local authority, so they were my guardians, so they were the one defendant, and the therapist, the private children's home that carried out the holding therapy, they were the second defendants. So for some reason, to the which I am still no idea how this is allowed, The local authority, which is my legal guardian, paid the private children's home to do the holding therapy. But both of these defendants were allowed to come together against me, and so that it was 2 against 1. So in this meeting, we are shown a lot of paperwork, and it really is the first time we've discussed money, because I don't want money, I want my day in court. So we're shown there was 3 things. There was a lower, a middle, and a higher. The lower was just over 40,000. The higher one, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands, closer to the million mark. The first time I've ever been shown any money like that. Now, don't get me wrong. When you see £800,000, £900,000 in front of your eyes, when you know what's happened to you and you know how long you've been involved in it, yeah, you do go a bit, oh. But at the same time, it's not about the money. And then the bottom estimate was in the £40,000 mark, which was, in my head, I'm just like, well, I'll just go to court. It's not important. It's irrelevant to me. Like, there's no way that £40,000 will even come close to, me accepting an out of court deal, or, I'll just go to court. I want to go to court about this. This isn't just about me. This is about every other child that's in care that is vulnerable to this happening to them in the future, or now, or whenever. This is like the reason I did this and started this. Is I almost feel a duty to the kids that are coming after me through the care system. Like, I feel like I have to speak about my abuses so that they might not happen to other people in the future. So, sorry, I've gone off track. But so in this meeting, it was all very, very excitable. My solicitors were excited. Yeah? They were energetic, enthusiastic. They were telling me how fantastic it is that the other side has approached us. They want to settle the matter. This is like, so from their perspective, this is brilliant. So they show me the figures. They tell me that there's like a lower, a middle, and a higher. And then they're like, we've already arranged a date for the settlement meeting. Yeah? So I was like, okay. Well, hindsight, settlement meeting. At the time, I was told it was an out-of-court discussion. I was not told it was a settlement meeting. Just in case I tie myself up in knots there. So we leave. We're talking about the lower side of the charts, the ones near the 40,000. And at the time, I had an eviction notice over my head. I've been homeless a few times. So my reaction to my solicitors were, worst case scenario, the 30 to 40,000 pound, I'll be able to buy my council house. Worst case scenario. It turns out that they might have taken that as my accepting that that's how much I kind of wanted. I don't know. Anyway, I left that meeting with my friend, and I was in my head. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you everything's the truth. I was thinking, it's probably gonna be about £250,000. Let's not look at the higher estimate here. Like, there's no way 5 years in a civil court matter, it's going to be £40,000. My solicitor's reaction when I said to them, by the way, that if I only get 30 to 40,000 pounds, I'll be able to buy my council house. They looked at each other and went, well, we wouldn't be very good at our job, would we? So I was like, well, they're not worried. They're not worried about that. So I won't be worried about that. And because it was just an informal chat, I'd already arranged to go on holiday. Something that I needed. I was ready to give this case up. I was suicidal. I was not in a good place. And 2 very, very close friends were going to Australia, and we arranged that for the first 3 weeks of that, I would go and have a great time. On the 18th of December, 2016, I stayed up late because of the time difference. My my friends go to bed, I actually say to my one friend, I'm either going to wake up a millionaire or I'm going to wake up having to do another 5 years fighting. Actually said those words. Stayed awake, took the phone call, and at the start of the phone call, by the way, I had to state my name, my age, my date of birth, and because I was told that the phone call was being recorded. So I take the phone call, and on the phone, I am given a offer of £28,000. To which I was like, hell no, are you taking the piss? Like, are you insulting me? Like, no, go away. Like, what? Like, I lost it. Like, I can't even put into words. Like, I had no support network around me. At this point, I didn't know that I had a borderline personality disorder. I knew that I had mental health problems, but none of them had been diagnosed. So I was an alcoholic. I was drinking so much alcohol all of the time, like undercover as well. So it hit me hard. I was sat like on my own, trying to absorb this information. I felt like my solicitors had turned on me. So I said no. So they got my friend on the phone, who I went to the settlement. Sorry, I said it again. It's only because in hindsight, I now know that they're saying it was a settlement meeting. And it was my friend who came to the London offices with me before the out of court first meeting, from my solicitor's perspective, the settlement meeting, whatever. So I'm on the phone. Cutting a long story short, I was told that there was £47,000 which was being offered, and a written apology from the local authority, and that if I didn't accept that money, now this is really important, that if I didn't accept that money, that my solicitors would no longer represent me, and that they would tell legal aid that I was being unreasonable and uncooperative, and that I wouldn't get any more funding from legal aid. Now, you're going to make up your own mind. I believe I was blackmailed. I believe from the bottom of my heart that I was blackmailed. I just don't understand how it happened. So I have made a complaint to the legal ombudsman. At the moment, it's, I'm just being told no. Like this, I can complain to the Crown Prosecution Service, and I can complain to the Bar Standards Bar. But I've been fighting this for 8 years of my life. I'm 32 years old. I don't want to be fighting privately a secret battle that nobody understands, because so far I don't have good relationships. All I can live, breathe and talk is this case, is what it's done. It's completely taken over my life. I am miserable. And I have a life goal of setting up a eco-friendly housing scheme for care leavers. Now, this is a big goal. This is a huge goal. But housing is the most important thing for a young person leaving care. A young person leaving care needs to know that they have safe accommodation that they can go home to and build a life from. I didn't have that. I didn't have that until I bought my council flat with the £47,000, If I hadn't have had eviction notice hanging over my head, maybe I'd have been brave enough to say no to that, and I don't care if you're not going to give me the legal aid. I'll find the funding somewhere else. But I didn't. I was weak. Maybe I was wrong. But I really was not given a choice. At the time, I was told, You take the £47,000, or your solicitor, who has just, I can't remember the exact figure of how much, because the settlement happened outside of a courtroom, obviously the other side met their legal bill. So I actually cost the public purse zilch, by the way. So if there's anyone out there saying like that doesn't like the idea of that, the other side paid for the solicitor's bill. I think it was about £60,000. I think it was more than I got in compensation. So the reason, again, that I'm making this video is that I need some help. I don't know how you can help me, but I needed to make this video. I need to know that people care. I need to know that people are also not happy with the fact that this has happened. You know, if you pay taxes, you paid for it. You paid for a vulnerable, abused child to be tortured. And I'm pretty sure, you know, you want to know about that. My goal moving forward in life is to stop fighting a battle on my own behind closed doors that nobody knows about, feeling like I'm fighting a losing battle, feeling helpless. I want to be hands on the ground, making a difference for care leavers, for children in care, especially for children that are on care orders that don't have anybody looking out for them whilst they're stuck inside this system. I'm hoping that this video has made some sense. If I can and it works, then, you know, I will go into a lot more detail about each specific area that I've covered. There's probably an hour's worth of information on just what holding therapy is, but I ask you to Google it. You know, go into Google, look at what holding therapy is, look at the consequences of psychological torture, find out what a borderline personality disorder is. Apparently it's also known as emotionally unstable disorder, which seems really insulting, but so I've gone off track again. So I only discovered the mental health disability 7 weeks ago. My solicitors sent me the report from the doctor. Must be about 60 or 70 pages, like the week before Christmas. The solicitor said I probably wouldn't read that. It's really difficult reading. Maybe wait till after Christmas. I just sent an email back saying, no, I've read it, it's fine. You know, I glossed over it. You know, I wasn't really sure what to make of it. And if I did read the words borderline personality disorder, I certainly did not understand what it meant. We're now in 2018, and I've been having so many problems with suicidal thoughts, like, not suicidal thoughts, like irrational, just like, I just didn't really think I could face life anymore. Like, I felt like I'd lost this battle. I felt like I'd let myself and, you know, any other kid that might be relying on, I just feel this huge burden to help children that are in care. Like, I have a voice, I'm not afraid to use it. And I want to start using it for a better cause than my own private personal battle. Even though I'm hoping that my own personal private battle can bring a legal plateau to the way children are treated in care, because it's negligent, it's abusive, it's breach of human rights. And I'm hoping that, you know, this is the very first step. This is me saying to the universe, I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm not afraid of it anymore. I'm prepared to share it with everyone. But I just hope that everyone will help and support me in making a housing development scheme specifically for care leavers. And that is my goal now. I want to bring people together that have the means, that have the resources, to start building small settlements of 10 units where 16, 17-year-olds can live and learn how to live independently, without the worries of dodgy landlords, crazy councils, that just have somewhere where they can recover from living in care, where they can think about what they want, where they can think about their education and actually get their education. I really want to make a difference. I want to make their lives better, because there was no one there to make my life better when I was 16. I was thrown, into Birmingham city centre at 16 years old and left. And, it's been a very, very fighting battle since. I came off my care order at the age of 21 and was handed a pile. It sounds unbelievable. I was handed a pile of letters from my birth family. And, at that point, I'd lived independently for 5 years and been homeless, been to prison. And, they never thought, maybe he might get some benefit from being in touch with his family. They thought that they had the right to withhold my family from me for a further 5 years, which, is insane. The last time I dealt with any social worker was like when I was 21, as I got those letters. So I really do believe that I have enough life experience to really know what I'm talking about when it comes to what a 16-year-old that's leaving care needs. And all they need is a safe, stable home, somewhere they know that's not going to get taken off them, that they're not going to get threatened with eviction, that they don't have a weird landlord that comes and be weird around them and makes them uncomfortable, that they have somewhere that's theirs, that they can call home, something that they've never had before. This is 2018. This is the United Kingdom. This is England. How are we not looking after the most vulnerable people in our society? A child that has lived in care on a care order has no family. So at 16 years old, who's expecting them to do what? I was probably not I was clueless. I thought I knew it all, but I was clueless. Hence why I ended up into drugs and drink, and inevitably I had to go to prison for 2 months. I don't want people that are following behind me to make those same mistakes because they don't have access to simple housing. Orison would be the name of the housing development company. Orison means prayer, I believe. I'm going to stop this video now. I might carry on a little bit more. But I just needed to get this into the world because I can't carry this secret around with me any longer. Psychological torture is what holding therapy is. And I know the truth. Now so do you.